Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at this meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are helpful to parents all around the world, and they are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not able to attend this meeting live can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much, Irene. And I'm going to go ahead. Jackie has an incredible bio, and I will be posting it with the YouTube video, but I wanted to just talk about the last part of it because all of you know Brian Weiss, all of you know Michael Newton. Jackie was personally trained in hypnotherapy and past life regression by Paul Arand, MHT, world-renowned master hypnotist, first president of the Michael Newton Institute for Life Between Lives, past life regression. Jackie was certified in hypnotherapy and past life regression by Dr. Brian Weiss, best-selling author of Many Lives, Many Masters, and someone that I quote frequently on Helping Parents Heal, and chairman emeritus of psychiatry at the Mount Sinai Medical Center. She was also trained in past life regression therapy, inherited family trauma and dynamics, in past life trauma carryover, and in core belief systems by Carol Bowman, MS. Carol is an author, lecturer, counselor, therapist, and an authority in children's reincarnation cases, which is fascinating. Please visit her website at www.intuitiveclinicalhypnosis.com. I'll be putting that into the chat box. I just want to tell you that this is something that she has been experiencing throughout her life. This is something that came to her very, very early in life, but you'll be able to read about that, and maybe Jackie will tell more about that. But before we introduce Jackie, I would love to have Beth Maxwell, who is a shining light mom to Vivian, just tell a little bit about how she connected with Jackie. And thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Hi, everyone. Good to see everyone. I was connected with Jackie. So Vivian passed a year ago. I think I found Jackie. I was just looking up in my emails. I found her in July, and it came to me through, and I don't think anything's a coincidence anymore. Vivian's field hockey coach, who also does my hair, had mentioned to me in passing, hey, I talked to this woman, she's an intuitive, be great for you maybe to give her a call. And I think she had given me the card early on, maybe a couple months in, and I just never did anything with it until I was ready. And then one day I just felt urged to find that card in my purse and reach out to Jackie. And I exchanged a couple emails and then, did the intake form. And she, just from the emails that we exchanged back and forth, it was like, it was supposed to happen. So I had, met her, and she just really helped me. And we'll talk through the story of my past life regression, but way before we got into that was just, she really helped me with spiritual counseling. And because I was on this path I had found Viv, but I really was trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with all of this and how I dig deeper into it. And that's really where she was able to help me. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to her and let her tell you all about all the great things that she does.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time. I'm truly grateful to be here. Thank you, Elizabeth, Irene, and Beth. I guess since I was a little kid, I had this insatiable desire to understand God, spirituality, and strange enough, even as a little kid, suffering. Without having known it till I was much older, I was an intuitive and an empath. And as an intuitive and an empath, if you don't have words or language for it, you're constantly picking up on people's energy, on people's suffering, on people's happiness. And as a result of that, I was inundated with tremendous anxiety as a kid. And so I spent the better part of my life investigating as much as I could about God, about religion, about spirituality. And that led me to near-death experiences, to reincarnation. I will also say that I come from a family of intuitives. My sister is a medium and a psychic. And so going back many generations, this has been in our family. And from the time I was a kid, I just wanted to understand more about God, about reincarnation, and about suffering. And as a way to manage my anxiety and heal myself, I immersed myself in everything that I could possibly read and find about all of the above. And I also wanted to piecemeal together and try to connect how spirituality and science worked. And then I delved knee deep into quantum physics, neuroscience, the microbiome, epigenetics, grounding, mind, body, spirit, anything that I could literally get my hands on via a book, a podcast, a documentary. And I found myself gravitating towards reincarnation. And the moment that I knew that I was supposed to be doing this in life, I immediately was able to read a person's past lives. And I delved knee deep into it. And it has helped me heal and manage my anxiety. And I knew that I wanted to devote myself to helping others heal, to helping others understand what their soul contracts are, because we all come here with soul contracts. And as Brian Weiss says in Many Lives and Many Masters, the reason why we incarnate is to experience life, and to not only experience life, but to learn from those experiences and then help share to better the lives of others through that learning experience. And Anita Moorjani quotes in her book, we come here to experience joy, understanding, suffering, and using that again to help ourselves and help others. And so I have dedicated my life to learn as much as I can about reincarnation, about past life regression, and how we carry over past life trauma into this life. They call it a sanskara. It's like an imprint on our soul, to understand what our soul contracts are with our loved ones, the people in our lives, and to also understand how to align. So a lot of what I do is spiritual alignment. It's really about intuitively picking up what's happening with a person's soul and understanding where they are in that alignment. And, you know, I'll be the first person to say, for a long time, I think I was on my D plan. And then it took years to graduate to my C plan, and then many more years to graduate to B, and then finally A. But it's my hope that now that I feel aligned in doing what my soul was meant to do, that I could help others align to their A path as well. And so a lot of my work entails connecting with someone, understanding what their core beliefs are. And how I do that is by doing a very intense background, comprehensive intake on a person's life. And by understanding what a person's life is like, you can begin to identify what a person's core beliefs are. And oftentimes we come into this world with our core beliefs ingrained in who we are. And what I mean by that is, from a very young age, I had this core belief that I was alone. And I could never understand why I had that feeling, even though I had a wonderful family and a huge group of friends, and I grew up with a lot of love. Still couldn't understand why I had this belief system that I felt alone until I had a past life. And that past life revealed to me why I felt alone. I also had this core belief of believing that I deserved to suffer. And that began as a very young age. I don't think being in Catholic school and reading all those books about the martyrs and the saints helped at all, but I definitely had this feeling, this knowing that I understood suffering and that there was a part of me that deserved it. Again, that unveiled itself in a past life as I got older. And it's really fascinating. As children, you can identify what a child's core beliefs are way into an adulthood, but it's so easy when we are navigating what a person's life experiences are like to identify what a person's life themes are and how they've navigated through this life. I also spend time decoding what those core beliefs are, finding out where the origins are. Sometimes it's past life carryover. Sometimes it is coming from a person's cellular memory. Keep in mind that a person's cellular memory, well, we know now through epigenetics, inherited family trauma can go back 3 generations. And so if you had a great grandparent who was in the Holocaust or a war, if you had a great grandparent who experienced trauma, it's really fascinating how that can carry over from one generation to another. And we now know through epigenetics, it could go back 3 generations. And so we're looking at past life carryover, we're looking at core beliefs, we're looking at inherited family dynamics and inherited family trauma. And a really obvious case in the news was when you look at Whitney Houston and her daughter Bobby Brown. That is a perfect example of inherited family trauma, right? Addiction within the family and the lineage and how that carried over. You look at Bruce Lee and his son, Brandon, and that's a very obvious case in the news. And what I do is help you identify what your core beliefs are, what inherited family dynamics are. And then from there, we utilize those things into past life experience to help you gain more clarity and understanding and healing around how you can move forward in this life, how you can understand what your soul contracts are with your loved ones. And so if I may, Beth, I'd love for you to tell what your experience was like in your past life regression to help them further understand what that was.
I had to figure out the unmute once I muted myself. Sorry. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, great. So I had been seeing Jackie, just like I said, for spiritual counseling. And, you know, she was very cautious because I was not even, 6 months in to my healing journey. And she, you know, wanted to make sure that I was ready, because when you go back, you know, she can't control what my past lives are. She could control, you know, how I get there and pull me out if need be. But, you know, one of the things that she was worried about was me going back and seeing Vivian die in another life, or, you know, so she was very, very concerned about that. And I just kept, something was telling me, and I know it was Vivian, telling me, you got to do this. It's time. So I would not let Jack, I just kept saying, I'm ready. We've got to do it. And you guys know the synchronicities and stuff. And I went there that day to do and luckily we're both in New Jersey. So even with the pandemic, we were socially distanced in her office. It worked out fine. But I was a little nervous that day. And I just, you know, I was it was a big deal. And I had never been in the room that she had done the past life regressions in her office. We just kind of met in the conference room. And I was, very nervous. And I sat down and I looked up, and above her desk was this huge picture of a blue butterfly. And I don't know if you guys could see, I had just gotten that same butterfly as a tattoo maybe a week before. So I looked at Jack, I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to do this. So I won't go through all of it, but the main reason why I wanted to do this was because I wanted to understand why I had chosen this. What possible reason? We all think about, why the hell would we ever choose this suffering and this pain? So I wanted to go back and look into that. So she was able to take me back, and she took me back gently. She took me back to beautiful moments in this life that I had spent with Vivian and my mom. My mom had just passed as well from COVID right after Viv. And so I went back to 2 beautiful moments in this lifetime where I was able to actually be in it again, and hold Vivian as a baby again. And I went back to my mother's womb, and then finally back to the past life where, it was England in the 1700s, and I had 2 children. They walked, I could see everything around me. I could see it just as clearly today. I never even listened to the recording because I remember it. It was almost like I remembered that life. So my 2 kids came in, and one was Vivian, little girl. And then I also had a son, who I don't have a son in this life, but I knew his spirit was my brother-in-law, my husband's brother. My nanny was there. It was my sister. You just sensed it. It was just the craziest thing. And then, she'd taken me back through some events in that life. And then finally, to the event where I am going to cross over to the other side. And I was very young. I think I was 35 when I was passing, and I saw the whole scene. I was there. I was in my body, and my daughter, I don't know her name. I never got that far, but it was Vivian, was sitting on my bed, and she was only 10. And I was dying. I had gotten sick from something. I had something with my stomach. That's all I know. And I remember just sitting there and watching, seeing Vivian, but I was not afraid to die. I felt at peace. And then all of a sudden, Jackie pulled me out. I had left my body, and I could see the scene from hovering above. And I saw Vivian, again, don't know her name in that life, but hovering over my body, clutched on me as I had passed. And looking over it, I started saying to Jackie, oh my God, I left her too soon. I left her too soon. I left her too soon. And I was like, oh. So that was one of those things where it's like, oh my God, that I left her too soon, right? It comes out clearer as we move through it. But then, I find she takes me to where Vivian passes in that life. And it wasn't like one of those things where you're like, oh my God, I have to live through that again. You feel like it's like that. The life, it's just so quick. And then I'm, on the other side, Vivian passes, I pick her up and I holding her, and I'm, hugging her, and I said, I'm so sorry I left you too soon. I need to know what that felt like for you, what that felt like for you. So I promise you, I want to learn what that felt like. So right there, that was my answer. I left her early. Now, mind you, if you read the Michael Newton books, if you read the Brian, you don't have to. No one makes you go back and say, okay, you have to feel what someone else made you feel. That was my soul, because I always laugh at Jackie. I'm an overachiever soul. I know that I just said, no. I want to do that. I want to feel it. I want to go through that pain. I want to. So, and one of the things, some of the cathartic things that happened was I had a life between lives. It was kind of spontaneous as we were doing this. And one of the things I felt was just how quick that life passed. And then we were all together again, me and Viv, and my dad was there. My mom had this backlight around her. My mom, I'm not an angel, but she was a very superior, enlightened soul. And Vivian looked at me and she said, you see, Mom, we are together forever and ever and ever and ever. So that, and I remember just being there and feeling that unconditional, beautiful, pure love. And I can still go back to that in my mind and feel what I felt when I was in that life between lives and that past life regression. It was unbelievable. And I can't even tell you what it has done for my healing to know that I chose it. I'm going to be with her. I'm with her in that life, this life, the next one, 10 before. We're always together. Always, always, always together. So I'll pause there, Jackie. I don't know, did I hit everything? Is there anything else that, I mean, I know there was a lot that day. There was a lot, but it was one of those moments where, I mean, it shifted me so much in my healing that I don't know if I'd be where I am if I hadn't went through that and found that the answers that I was looking for. Now Jackie's on mute.
Am I back?
Yeah,
I'm back.
you're good. You're good.
Yeah, no, you hit that beautifully. The whole purpose of this experience is to understand what your soul contracts are so that you can experience some semblance of healing and understanding and clarity around your experience in this lifetime. And so Beth said it beautifully. In that lifetime, she passed as a young mom and left Vivian early. And so Beth decided to experience what it was like. And, you know, oftentimes I hear people say, how can a soul evolve? But the whole point of being here is to experience things to help you evolve as a soul. And so Beth wanted to understand in this lifetime what it was like to empathize and have compassion and understand what Vivian went through in that lifetime. And, you know, to Beth's point earlier, the word coincidence, comes from the Latin coincidere, meaning two lines meet at an exact point. All things fall into place. And it's really remarkable when you begin to get a better understanding of this, how you see this working in real time in the universe. We are continually guided by signs. We are continually blessed with the presence of our loved ones in spirit. And they are continually communicating to us through people, places, things, circumstances, details, and events. Again, there is no such thing as a coincidence. And the day after Beth and I spoke, it was pretty amazing. Beth, if you want to elaborate there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember the drive home because I came out of it and I was like, I made that up, right? I mean, there's no way that was real. And then driving home, I was just like, like something opened up, like I just started to remember more things. And then I was like, okay, why was my brother-in-law one of my kids? I'm not even that close to my brother-in-law. And we had not spoken for years. But when Vivian died, and I didn't come to this till the next day when I called Jack and like, oh my God, when Vivian died, he was the first person I called and we hadn't spoken in years. And at the emergency room, my husband looks at me, he's like, did you just call my brother? And I'm like, yeah. He said, why? I said, I have no idea. And he's also the one that drove down to DC to pick up my daughter, Evelyn, at college to bring her home. So it was just, and we always had a very tumultuous relationship. And so did Viv and my brother-in-law. They fought like siblings. So it was stuff like that I was like, oh my God, now I get it. My sister, the nanny, Vivian was like a child. My sister doesn't have any children. Vivian was like her child. And my sister and Ryman, my brother-in-law, always had a crazy relationship, like friendly. So it was just all these things that kept coming back afterwards, where I'd start remembering other things and started putting all of the pieces together. So it was remarkable, really, really was. And that was
Yeah.
an interesting conversation, calling my brother-in-law and saying, hey, you were my son in another life. So that was a pretty funny call that I made to him, but it was very cool.
Yeah.
We have some questions. I wanted to see if we could just start out with a few and then maybe go back to this. But first of all, people are saying, thank you, amazing. This is so interesting. I love this clear message. Thank you, Beth. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story. This is amazing to hear. Irene is asking a good question that actually Beth has already answered, but maybe you could elaborate on this. Can regressions be done with Zoom and not in person?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I actually have clients all over the world. And as long as your Wi-Fi is good, we're good.
That's kind of important, obviously. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Wi-Fi isn't always 100%. And so I often ask people in advance to do like a little bit of a test run and to ensure. But yes, I have clients all over the country, all over the world. And these have been done many times over successfully.
That's wonderful. Could you, Dixie's asking you, can you talk more about but life between lives? I love my son, who he was here and now. Will he be similar? Would he be similar? Would the relationship be the same? He was so fun and kind and wise in this life. I don't know. We're talking about past lives right now. That life between lives is a shorter period of time, I would assume. Could you talk a little bit about that period of time?
Yeah, of course. So if I may, Beth actually did experience a life between lives, and it wasn't our intention, but at times when we're doing a past life regression, it does happen spontaneously. And so Beth, if you can touch on that, and then I'll go ahead and elaborate on what my experience is.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I always, before I had done this, I would always say to myself, I want this life again. I want the relationship Viv and I had in this life. I don't want her to be anybody else. I don't want to be anybody else. But what I found going back to my life in that past, I was pretty much the same person. I was entertaining. I was cooking for everyone. I had the same pieces of myself that I am today. Vivi was the same way, just this, happy-go-lucky kid. And I believe, again, maybe we weren't mother and daughter in every single life, but I believe that we keep the essence, and some people disagree that your personality is not in your, I believe we keep the essence of ourselves in every life, and that just continues to grow. And as Jackie talked about, all of those imprints from our past lives are all part of that. So you may not be, mother and son in the next life, but you're still going to have that. We can't be mother and child without having be part of the same soul family. At least that's my belief. I believe we're always going to be together. As Vivian told me, forever and ever and ever and ever. Mom, we're never apart. So that's my belief. I don't know, Jackie, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, well, I concur with everything you said, and it's up to the souls to decide in this lifetime what the learning themes are. We continue to incarnate and have theme after theme until we basically graduate from it. I've had many themes as a healer. I've had many themes as a victim, right? There's a saying, the saint and the sinner are always exchanging notes. And so in this lifetime, Beth wanted to better understand what Vivian's experience was like in the other lifetime. And so you contract with one another for the benefit of your soul's growth, to experience what you do in this incarnation to evolve. And some of those themes could be compassion. Some of them could be learning to not be judgmental, to learn to be more empathic, to learn to be more open and kind, maybe not be so greedy. Every lifetime is different, but you do contract with one another. And oftentimes, you may be the mom in a lifetime for many times, but you also may be the child, and vice versa. You travel in soul groups. There's primary, there's secondary, and there's tertiary. Typically primary are the people very close to you, maybe your partner in life, your parents and children, but not necessarily. You can have a parent who is secondary. It just depends on what your learning themes are in this life. I will tell you that one of my first experiences in a past life regression was at the Omega Institute. And I don't recall if they were doing a past life or a meditation or what, but I didn't even know what a life between lives was. And this was really at the genesis of my learning and investigating about reincarnation and I had spent years of my life, decades, learning about it, but this is actually the first time I had started experiencing these things. And at the Omega Institute in upstate New York, I was there doing a weekend workshop, and they led what could have been a past life or a regression or a meditation, I'm not sure. I spontaneously had a life between lives. And I came out of that literally weeping. And it was really remarkable. I saw myself in a lifetime as a healer. And it was fascinating to me because I was in a room of lepers and I was helping to tend to these sick people. But there was this knowing in me that I wouldn't get leprosy. It was almost like I knew that I had this contract with spirit, with God, that was my mission in that life, and that I would be okay. And then I left that life and I bounced into another life as a farmer. And I saw in that life, when I left my body, that I had lived a very lonely life of solitude. And I was very sad when I left that life that I didn't make it a point to connect with people more. And so in the life as a healer tending to the sick, I knew that my contracts were to help sick people. And in my life as a farmer, I knew that life could have been better spent connecting, learning to love, learning to cherish having people around me in my life, and not to live such a solitary life. And then when I left that life, I found myself in what felt like a very translucent, ethereal room. And nothing had any specific dimension to it. And it was filled with this beautiful light. And I know that my spirit guides were with me. And I recall that my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, was with me. And I found myself in this room. And in this room were these elders. They're called Council of Elders when you do a life between lives. And I found myself reviewing my lives with them and understanding as a soul what I could have done differently, what I did well, how I could have done it better. But I'll tell you what was remarkable was nowhere in that experience with my Council of Elders was there any judgment. I felt nothing but utter love and compassion. And when I reviewed my life and knew I had done something wrong or I could have done something better, they did nothing but unconditionally love me and accept that was that life, and that I can incarnate again and learn and hopefully expand on that experience and maybe do it better the next time. And it was absolutely soul stirring. And I came out of that literally weeping, asking everyone around me, what was this thing that just happened? And that's when I started to delve more into Dolores Cannon and Michael Newton, and learning about Michael Newton and Life Between Lives, and Dolores Cannon, and connecting with the soul, and investigating all these different types of methods of past life regression.
That's wonderful. Listen, there's so many things that people are saying about you. And then also, I mean, kind words as well as questions. Can I just first of all say that Angel is saying, I've had the express pleasure of spending time with Jackie, and she is as genuine and beautiful in person as she is in this video call, an authentic humanitarian. Joyce is asking a good question. How long are past life regression sessions?
If you do a past life regression session, in one session, it's typically about 4 hours. I highly recommend breaking it up, and I'll tell you why. There's a difference between a past life regression and past life regression therapy. And what I do and what I was trained in was actually both. But it's the past life regression therapy that really helps to identify the core beliefs, the inherited trauma, the inherited family dynamics, the cellular memory, understanding what our life themes and life experiences are in this lifetime. And so I often say to people, I personally would recommend breaking it up in a couple of sessions, especially because that first session, there's this really deep dive and intake on your life. I mean, I am asking everything from what your recurring dreams are to your recurring nightmares, what any accidents, illnesses, because all of those can be remnants of past life carryover that play themselves out in this life. And Beth, again, you can speak to this. Your experience was having broken it up and having some sessions doing spiritual alignment and then moving gradually into the past life.
Yeah, I mean, that was very helpful for me. So we didn't just, and I don't think, Jackie, you would just jump in, right? I mean, you have to do that intake. You have to get to know and understand that person. Yeah. So I mean, I think we probably had maybe 4 spiritual counseling alignment sessions, maybe 5 before I actually did the PLR.
Oh, could I ask another question? Because this is something that I'm kind of wondering myself. Do you ever have a client who does not regress to a past life?
I have had clients who have not regressed. So regression is going back in this life, but jumped into a past life. I have had clients who've had a regression in this life, but didn't necessarily go into a past life. You know, and Brian Weiss will talk about this. The more you do it, the more you practice, the more of a psychological muscle you build for this. And so prior to any session, I will send people videos that are on YouTube of different past life regressions. One is of Brian doing a past life at Omega. There are several others. I say to people, practice as much as you can. I ultimately want everyone to understand what their soul contracts are, what their core beliefs are. I cannot guarantee it. No past life regressionist can. But obviously, like Brian says, the more you practice, the more of that psychological muscle you build, the easier it will be to have that experience. Some people go the first time. Some people are, I'm inducing them and they're in. And then for some people, it's taken a few times. Trust is a very important thing. Whoever you do this with, you absolutely have to feel that trust and know that you resonate with one another, because these are very powerful experiences. I can certainly do it in one shot. Again, I would recommend trying to break it up because it's really important to get that background information and to kind of piecemeal a person's familial puzzle and their lives to help us better understand what we're dealing with when we go into a past life or regression. The ultimate goal here is to understand soul contracts and to align. And the way to do that is through time.
That's wonderful. Listen, there's another good question. Do we have past life dreams? Do we dream about our lives when we're here in this life? Is that something that you're familiar with?
Absolutely. Yeah. As a matter of fact, no coincidences. I did a past life today with someone earlier. And so that's what I had said earlier. Oftentimes I can identify through recurring dreams and nightmares or very profound dreams and nightmares. And I had a client today who kept having this experience of paralysis in her dream. So part of me wondered, well, maybe it's astral travel. Part of me wondered, well, this sounds like it could be a past life experience. And sure enough, she had a past life. where she found herself, I won't go into too much detail, but she found herself reliving exactly what her dream was. And this recurring dream was being in a car with a husband who she didn't recognize in this life, even though she's married. And there was a child in the back seat. And she could not understand why she found herself driving these long distances with this husband and child and yearning for this child. And in the past life, we came to understand why she had this recurring dream.
That's amazing. Well, there are some other very good questions, and I think that this will be reassuring for you to answer them. What if your son was adopted from a very far away country? And we have several people asking that. Would they be in the same soul group with us? And would they be a part of these past life regressions that are happening in the past? Then would these kids show up possibly?
If you adopted a child, there is an absolute soul contract there. You know, Wayne Dyer wrote a great book. I forget who the co-author was. Is it called Memories of Heaven? And it talks about children's past life experiences, children's reincarnation experiences, and children connecting with angels and loved ones who've transcended. And over and over and over again, you hear about how children choose their parents, regardless of whether the mom carried the child or not. There are soul contracts that happen on the other side that are seen through on this side. So regardless of whether you adopted a child, you carried a child, you fostered a child, a soul contract is a soul contract. There is no amount of distance on this earth that can disconnect you from what your soul contracts are.
That's wonderful. And so Andrea is asking, and this kind of follows along the same lines, hearing that we don't lose each other is very important. So could you go a little bit deeper into soul contracts and explain about what they mean in terms of these past life regressions? Because there are a lot of parents who might not know exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about soul contracts.
So before we incarnate, our souls contract with one another to help us learn and glean and understand what our learning themes and experiences are. So let's say you contract in this lifetime to develop more compassion. Then you both decide what you'll incarnate as. Maybe one soul decides to incarnate as the mom in this lifetime and a child in this lifetime, but in a previous lifetime, maybe you were brother and sister. And so each soul contract is to help you incarnate and experience what those life themes are. And you do help one another. And it's interesting because I saw for myself personally that I had contracted with someone that in this lifetime really caused me a lot of pain and suffering. But I saw in a past life that in that life, they caused me a lot of pain and suffering and harm. But when we left our bodies and met again, reunited in spirit, when I connected with that person's soul, there was nothing but this unconditional love. And it was so joyous and it felt like a reunion. And then after I got over the reunion, I thought, well, wait a minute, you did that really terrible stuff to me in that life. And that soul said to me, but don't you remember we made a contract? And the contract was, I would help you to overcome being a victim, because you had spent many, many lifetimes in victim mode. And darn, did I do a good job.
That's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. So I think that this is a really good question. Are night terrors that children have from past lives, is that a possibility?
It could be an absolute possibility. You know, there are many factors. It could be past life carryover. You know, there was an interesting episode there is a show on Netflix called Surviving Death. And if you go to episode 6, it was specifically about reincarnation. And Dr. Ian Stevenson had spent decades of his life researching children's reincarnation experiences. And so night terrors, bad dreams, even powerful dreams are all clues, especially if they're recurring, of a possible past life trauma carryover, or a possible experience in this lifetime through cellular memory or inherited family trauma. And so the answer to that is absolutely. Carol Bowman, who I've trained with personally and who is absolutely remarkable, talks about in her books, both of her children. One of her children having this terrible, terrible fear of fire, and at a very young age, recalling a past life where she died in a fire. And her son had as well fear of very loud noises. So he reacted very strongly at a 4th of July celebration, was actually terrorized or terrified by it, and then had a past life experience where I believe it was the Civil War, Revolutionary War, where he was firing cannons and had fired a cannon and had hurt his hand. And in this life had issues at a very young age with his hand. And so, yes, it could possibly be a connection. Wayne Dyer tells this beautiful story. It's a true story about these parents that brought home a newborn baby, and they had a young daughter at home. And as soon as they brought home the baby, the young daughter was like, "You have to leave me alone with this baby. You need to leave me alone with the baby." And of course, as parents to a newborn and a young child, they were like, "What is going on here?" Like, it was very, very strange for them because this child was adamant that they had to be alone with the baby. And the parents said, "You know what? We have a monitor. Let's see what happens." No sooner do they put this infant in its crib and they shut the door than their daughter ran to the baby in the crib and said, "Baby, baby, hurry up and tell me what it's like to be in heaven, to be with God. I'm starting to forget."
Oh. Oh my goodness, that gave me goosebumps. How beautiful that is. Oh goodness. So another great question. What is deja vu? Is it memories of our soul contract planning?
Absolutely. It can be memories of contracting with another soul. It could be memories of a past life. And so depending on how many times you've incarnated, you may have been incarnating for thousands of years. So you could potentially have hundreds of lives. And so, yes, a deja vu can absolutely be a glimpse into a past life. I recently had a client who visited a foreign country in the Middle East. And she said, when I was there, it felt so familiar to me. And as she was perusing the streets and the palaces, she said, "God, I feel like I've been here before." And sure enough, she had had a dream that was very similar to that experience of being there. And then we went into a past life, and she'd had a past life in that very country. And it was remarkable.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. Karen is asking, why is time on the other side so different from life here? I was told 5 minutes there is like 3 minutes here. I'm not sure if it's the same way with past life regressions as it is transitioning to the other side and being in heaven, or whatever you like to call it, nirvana, or wherever it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it similar?
Beth, you can definitely comment to this, but here time is linear.
Mm-hmm.
And in the etheric realm, time is not linear. And so you can be in the etheric realm for 2 minutes and it feels like 200 years. Which is why when I experienced that past life review, maybe I was induced for 30 minutes, if that. I had experienced 2 lifetimes and a life between lives.
It's amazing.
And a whole life review. Absolutely.
Could you talked about videos that you give to clients to prepare for a past life regression. We have lots of people saying that they want to do one. Um, is there any way to provide us with links to those videos to prepare, or are they available on
Absolutely.
YouTube?
I will tell you that I just went on YouTube and I just did a search for past life regression videos, and of course I I specifically looked for Brian Weiss at the time because I knew he did this Omega one, and it's 35 minutes. I am happy to send you the links. I am not affiliated or connected to these people at all in any way. I had just tried different videos for myself when I was researching, and I thought they were great practice. And they're all very different, and you get a different perspective, but it also gives you the opportunity to practice in your own time. What I would say to everyone is when you do try these, please do so at home. Do not drive or do anything during or anything that requires multitasking. And I would say don't do it when you're really tired, because oftentimes you'll fall asleep because you are inducing this very relaxed state. So what is it exactly? It's an altered state of consciousness. So if you recall being in the classroom and zoning off, you could hear the teacher talking, but you don't necessarily hear what the teacher or the professor is saying. That zoned out space is hypnosis. It is an altered state of frequencies, and that's all it is. And so many of us are in and out of those states all day long. You know, think about the times when you're waiting at a red light and you think, oh my God, I got to pick up my cleaning and I got to do this and I got to do that. And the light turns green and you're so unaware. Or you're driving. I do this all the time. I could have Waze talking to me, but I'm still so caught up in this zoned place that I'll miss my exit, even though I could see it and I'm being spoken to, right? And so that altered state of consciousness is us going from a conscious state where we're talking and communicating to a very relaxed, altered state. And so you're shifting in brain frequencies. You're going from beta into alpha and delta, alpha, theta, and delta. And alpha and theta are where you're experiencing regressions and past life. And so it happens naturally to many of us all day long. We're in and out naturally. And so what I do is just take you into that very natural state and help to induce you into a very calm, relaxed state so that you can access your subconscious and your superconscious or soul conscious. And so Beth, you had the past life. How did it feel? Like it was long for you or short?
It was. I've had a couple examples of where I've been shown, where I've astral projected and I've been shown how time is so, it doesn't exist on the other side, in other dimensions in heaven, whatever you want to call it. So I felt that, like I felt that life was just like boom. And then I was there. So that's one of the big takeaways for me is we all worry about, oh my God, I've got to spend 30 more years on this planet until I get back to my kid. It's going to be like a minute. It's really going to be so quick and we're all going to be together again. And it's, you know, there's no time there.
That's really wonderful. Okay, I guess that one last question, because we don't have a lot of time. Could you just define the difference between life between lives and a past life regression? Because I know that you did speak to that, but people are asking about it again. If you could just maybe kind of clarify that difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So past life is experiencing a life that we had lived before. A regression is going back in time. For some reason, in Western cultures, they call it past life and regression. In European cultures, they call it a past life regression. A life between lives is when you leave your body in spirit from a past life and you experience your council of elders. And it is there where you come up with your soul contracts and what your future incarnations will involve. I can tell you that I've had several spontaneous life between lives. And with each experience of my council of elders, I gained a better understanding of what my life themes are. But I will tell you that I was bargaining for this life. I knew that coming into this life would be very hard. I knew that there would be a lot of suffering from a very young age. And I was trying to negotiate with them and tell them that I couldn't do it. And they lovingly said, "We know you can. We believe in you. We would never forsake you." And they gave me the courage to incarnate again.
That's beautiful. Well, I just think that it's wonderful that you've given us all this incredible information. We have one last question from Mary, and I'd like to just answer it. I know what your answer is going to be, but she's asking about with reincarnation and with all of the information that you're giving about past life regression, will our kids be there for us when we cross over?
Oh my God. Mary, not only will they be there waiting to greet us, they are here with us now. Our loved ones are here with us now. They are constantly and continually communicating to us through electricity, through animals, through insects, through music, through energy. Keep in mind that the first law of thermodynamics is energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is simply transferred. Just like a human being can blow a dog whistle, and a dog can hear the whistle because they're picking it up at a different vibrational frequency, but a human can't, does not mean that that whistle, that sound does not exist. Spirit is with us. They're not up there. They are right here all the time. And it is up to us to be able to decipher how they communicate. Oftentimes people will say, "I don't get signs." Oh, you get signs, you just don't know how to see them yet. Know that a sign is a feeling. When I conveyed to you that Wayne Dyer story about that child remembering, know that that is all of us. We all came here remembering what it was like to be in spirit, to be in heaven, to be with our loved ones. We forget. We forget because we have free will, and we forget because Earth school is a tough gig, and life here is about learning. But know that even though we suffer in this lifetime, it is not inevitable. It is a way to gain wisdom, and life is where we practice that wisdom.
You know, it's so interesting because that was exactly the quote that I posted today on Helping Parents Heal, was about Brian Weiss and about the fact that we forget that this whole journey is all about love, and being able to remember is what we're trying to do as we go through this life, to remember that this is all that's important, is love. And I love that you have expressed that so well. Thank you for doing that. And I have so many people in the chat box saying thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Or thank you. This was wonderful. Thank you so much. You are wonderful. Gus is saying thank you. Nancy, yes, also true. Anne is saying thank you so much. Jackie and Beth. Rhonda is saying thank you. Roseanne is saying enlightening. So if you could possibly give us the links to those different past life regressions so that people can maybe practice and possibly get in touch with you, that would be wonderful. Absolutely. And we have love this, love her. So thank you both. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Jackie. And when we end these meetings, we always make sure that everyone can unmute. Irene, is everybody unmuted? So if you'd like to unmute and say thank you and goodbye to
Yes, thank you, Jacqueline. This was
Jackie.
wonderful.
And
Thank
you.
you.
This is great. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
both.
Thank
It was wonderful.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Both of you amazing.
Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow for
See you
Paul's
tomorrow.
Muchas gracias.
Yeah. Take care. Wonderful to see everybody. Take care.